Welcome. I'm Neil, the CEO of Portainer. Even though I now lead Portainer, my background is actually from a different world: consultant, CIO, and cloud provider CEO. And in that world, what matters more than technology is what the technology actually delivers for the business. In my world, I don't ask, what tech do we need? I ask, what are the jobs to be done? And what are the gaps and the issues that we need to address with the new technology? Without a strong foundation of what good looks like, you end up throwing tools at the wall and seeing what sticks. This is a dangerous gamble, as often none stick, and you end up with a platform no one wants or can use. Let's all take a moment to reflect on the reality of our own platforms. Do you have organic adoption because it's awesome, or are you forcing adoption because that's the only way you can get it? I'm here not as the CEO of Portainer, but as someone who has spoken with many hundreds of enterprises who have started to go down a Kubernetes path and have got themselves into a depth of complexity far beyond their initial expectations. Now everyone's heard the hype: Kubernetes, containers, DevOps, platform engineering. It's the future we all need, but the problem is most teams are diving in without a plan. And often what they think is a smooth landing turns out to be a very deep abyss. This isn't a cautionary tale, it's a reality check. If you think we're going to adopt Kubernetes means just technology, then you are mistaken. Kubernetes is a platform, and it drags with it a heap of additional tooling, organizational change, operational maturity, etc. This is a program of work, not a technology project. Of course, you can ignore reality and do that cliff dive without first checking the depth, but is it really worth the risk? Just because you're using Kubernetes doesn't mean you're doing it well. Just because your app runs in a container doesn't mean it's doing so efficiently. I've seen countless companies adopt Kubernetes and end up less stable, less functional, less secure, and more fragile. And this was against what they were running on VMs. We confuse new with mature, and that's dangerous. Without a solid plan, an acceptance that new equals different, an agreement that you need to focus on usability, not technical perfection, then you are likely going to modernize, but go backwards. Part of the problem is that the first instinct for many engineering teams is to build a platform themselves. I mean, why not, right? The ecosystem makes it sound so simple to throw together a few CNCF projects, maybe use Rancher or kubeadmin if you're tough. And how many conferences have you been to where the presenters make the exercise of building a platform seem stupidly simple? The reality, however, is they are likely highly qualified specialists, infinitely experienced, and likely took a very long time to learn their trade. Are you? What we see in reality is a team of engineers burning months of time researching, piloting, and testing. It's not that they're not smart, it's that the stuff is hard, and there are a lot of choices. 2,000 plus projects make up the CNCF landscape when I last looked. Now, DIY sounds empowering until you're neck deep in troubleshooting etcd quorum issues at 2 AM without a vendor support or engineer in sight. Do you want that to be your life? Now, free tools aren't free if you need a team of experts to operate them. Experts are expensive, hard to come by, and even harder to retain in this competitive world. The download might be free, but the hours of expensive engineers spending stabilizing, maintaining, and debugging all add up fast, let alone the opportunity cost of not doing something that more directly helps move the business forward. Interestingly, most engineers don't want to admit or accept defeat, so end up spending many more hours than they should in their own time trying to get the tech working. And this is how burnout happens. Go onto Reddit and search for the word burnout in the platform engineering or DevOps subreddits. Read the hundreds and hundreds of posts where this is the reality. Worse than the people toll is the array of free tools often, after outages, ends up with dozens of new vendors onboarded, each with their own commercial support agreements. This becomes very expensive very fast. Now, containers don't live in a vacuum. A proper platform needs way more than just Kubernetes. You need a hardened operating system, you need secure access control, GitOps for safe deployment, you need observability tools, you need policy management, and so much more. And here's the catch. Trying to piece it all together from scratch is where the pain actually starts. Remember, it's a platform you're building, not just technology. Think back to when you used virtualization. Did you just run ESXi? I doubt it. You had vCenter, you likely had Veeam, you most definitely had some alerting and monitoring. Was it vRealize Operations? That was your virtualization platform. So why would Kubernetes be any different? Now we're all familiar with the pets versus cattle analogy, made famous by Randy Bias of Rancher at the time, and how this all applies to containers and container platforms. But equally, the same analogy applies to every single element of your platform, hosts included. If your servers can be SSH'd into, they will be. If they can be changed manually, they will, and they'll drift. And once they drift, your infrastructure becomes a pet, and pets are unpredictable. And if you ask any pet owner, expensive. Immutability isn't just elegant, it's your only real defense against human error. No SSH means no snowflakes, just declarative intent and a known state. Servers as cattle is not only better, it's safer. Now, I've seen teams really proud about how many CNCF tools they've implemented. They stand on stage at events, they present about how they've implemented tool X and tool Y and tool Z. But here's the truth. Every tool you add is another opportunity for something to break. Platform engineering should reduce complexity, not celebrate it. Otherwise, you're just building a nightmare for yourself, a nightmare that you cannot wake up from. It's really interesting how obsessed we get as engineers in perfect, and how the only right way to build a platform is the perfect way. Perfection comes at a very, very high cost. 80% good enough costs 20% of perfect. Do you really need perfect? Perfect breeds complexity. It's often the only way to get perfect. Either write something yourself or stitch together dozens of tools, overlay an IDP, and call it a platform. As engineers, we need to stop being so proud about perfection and celebrating complexity, and focus how efficient we've made our internal teams. That's the real cause for celebration and the true badge of honor. Too many platforms aim to be everything for everyone. Infinite flexibility is why Backstage is so loved. That's how you end up with an unmaintainable mess. The best platforms are opinionated. They say, this is the way we do things here. And by limiting choices, they remove risk. Opinionation is not a limitation, it's clarity. Sure, you may think that opinionization introduces constraints, and sure it does, but it also provides clarity, assurance of a happy path, versus confusion and time wasted. Also, it's the same reason people love Backstage is the same reason its adoption is stalled out at 10%. It looks great on paper, but it fails in practice. With your new platform, you need to extract maximum value from it. And that means making other changes to fit in the pattern that best suits Kubernetes. There's no point adopting Kubernetes and then continuing with your old CI/CD methodology and attempting to treat a container like a VM. As an example, in the old world, we pushed code to prod and crossed our fingers. In the new world, we define intent in Git, and the platform reconciles to that intent constantly. It's not just a deployment strategy, it's a control loop. And when things drift, they self-heal. This is the mindset shift from pushing to watching, from human-driven to system-enforced. Remember, CD is not GitOps. CD tells Kubernetes what to do. GitOps has Kubernetes retrieve the desired state from Git, and then Kubernetes ensures desired state equals what's running. Very different. Do not attempt to use a horse to tow a car. Now, your early decisions will shape everything that comes after. If your foundation is shaky, maybe it wasn't hardened properly, or the life cycle isn't automated, then everything you build on top of it is going to be fragile. Invest in getting it right early, because recovery is always more expensive than prevention. Before you start your project, document what good looks like. And then 90 days in, benchmark yourself against good. Have you achieved it? And have you deviated from the path? If so, why? Remember, we don't implement Kubernetes just for fun. We implement it to solve a real business problem. So after 90 days, have we done that? We work with teams that have had the best intentions, the right tools, and even the right people, but still failed. Why? Because they underestimated the complexity. I've seen platforms get rebuilt multiple times before they were stable. Months of work gone. It's not uncommon. The lesson: don't confuse activity for progress. And don't assume we will figure it out is a strategy. You need to ensure that you have an executive sponsor that understands the why behind the project. Someone with skin in the game to ensure everyone is held to account. Budgets should be set and deviations from budget explained with more than a "we need this" to be successful. We should track forward progress, not just activity. And most importantly, the engineers who build the platform are very rarely the users of the platform. So ensure you engage your users every step of the way. After all, you are building something to make their lives easier. So that must be the yardstick that you measure success against. So what does work? A platform that is intentionally simple by design, one that is immutable at the core, visually manageable, driven by Git, and secure by default. A platform that doesn't give you infinite choices, but the right defaults. And most importantly, a platform that is usable by many, supportable by many, and that is easily maintainable. That's the common thread in every single implementation we've seen. One person does not make a team. One person cannot be expected to run a platform. One person is a risk, not a benefit. Now, you don't need to follow the herd. You don't need to adopt every CNCF project under the sun. You need a clean foundation, something you can understand, trust, and operate without needing a team of Kubernetes wizards. There is another way, one based on restraint, not bravado. So this isn't a tech stack conversation, it's a philosophy. It's about risk reduction through architectural discipline. It's about understanding that the complexity of the cloud-native world doesn't have to be your complexity. The courage to simplify is what will set you apart. Thank you.